I'm Guy, and this is your home for everything Alberta Independence, broadcasting twice daily, once at 12 noon, the other time at 5 p.m., which you're watching right now, Monday through Friday, once on Saturday at 5 p.m., and we have interviews dispersed throughout the week. We got one coming out.
Yes, we do. Sorry. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please don't forget to subscribe. It really does help us out. We try to read all your comments, but if you really, really want your comment read, we pause the whole show for super chats and always appreciate those as well. Anything else?
We also have memberships, so if anybody's interested.
Yes, we also have memberships. We opened them up about a week ago now. That's it.
Well, I said we had an interview.
Oh, hold on. Wild Rose Republic says, Nana. Hello. And yes, we do have an interview coming out right after this live show, our interview with Nico Lagan from Quebec, talking all about Quebec independence and Alberta independence and how we can help each other to give a 1-2 punch to the federal government, will be coming out. And we can watch the trailer now, which I finally uploaded. None of the guys say, quote, we don't have a left versus right problem. We have a leadership problem. That is our government. Our politicians are the problem. Our leadership are the problem. You and I can disagree, but who cares? And it is with Nico Lagan. So if you want to stay right after this one, right after this live show, it'll kind of spit you out towards that interview coming up.
And we maybe should have put it in there, but he's from Quebec, and that's why we wanted to open this dialogue. I think it's a very important conversation that needs to be had. And we need to kind of start a national conversation from both a West and East Coast dialect.
Yeah, he joins us to discuss the importance of Quebec and Alberta independence, how we can help each other, and how to bring the conversation to the national stage.
Oh, you did put Quebec.
I did. Premieres at 7 p.m. Mountain Time on YouTube.
And that's the reality that Albertans are facing, and they're tired of it. They're tired of Quebec mooching off of equalization payments when they won't even allow to have coast-to-coast pipelines going through their province. There is the possibility that Quebec can use what Alberta's doing, unify between the two banners, help each other get their goal, and use each other's momentum to make that a reality. This is what we're seeing right now. I'm very curious what it's going to take for Canadians to wake up to the fact that we are in a situation where politicians don't matter. The party they represent don't matter. We're just cowards. We're very complacent because we are used to defeat. This is the mentality difference between Canadians and the US. I don't respect people that don't have courage. I just don't. If you're a leader and you don't have the balls to tell the truth, I have no respect for you. We don't have a left versus right problem. We have a leadership problem that is our government, no matter the party you look at. It doesn't matter that it's on the provincial level or on the federal level. Our politicians are the problem. Our leadership are the problem. You and I can disagree. Who cares?
Okay, yeah, and it's going to come out almost directly after this. We should end the live stream. Hopefully, we're going to make it last till about 7 o'clock, and then we can go right into that.
Yes, and there it is if you want to find it. And again, it'll pop you right after this live. You'll be popped out into the interview if you want to stay with us, and we'll be in the chat as well. Okay. Yes, because again, all our interviews are pre-recorded. I know there's been a bit of confusion because we premiere them, which means we're in the chat and people can chat like it's alive, but they are all pre-recorded. So if you're interested, go watch it after this.
And we will be in the chat for the live.
Yes, of course, for the premiere.
Yes.
And the live.
Okay, let's get into Alberta Stay Free if we can.
Okay. I'm not saying hi to people.
Oh, yeah. I didn't realize that people have put some comments there. Let's see what they say.
Rumors007 says, Hola Nat y Guy, looking forward to another good show. 600 away from 3,000. And yes, thank you so much. And again, if you haven't subscribed, be one of those 600 that subscribe to help us get to 3,000. Glenn Gunn says, hello from same old Calgary. Wild Rose Republic says, I will be working, but listening. Thanks for everything you do, Nat and Guy. And thank you for listening and being here.
Thanks for everybody that's listening all across Canada and Alberta and the United States. And I think we have some people in Europe as well.
Oh, cool. David W. Carlson says, hello from Spruce Grove. So hello. Thank you for being here. Okay, now we can start.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's go into Alberta Stay Free.
I'm not quite as tired on tonight's show, so it should be good.
Good. And starting with from Nadine Wellwood says, quote, Canada faces deliberate creative destruction aiming to rebuild the nation. UNDRIP obligates signatories to vest property ownership in Indigenous peoples, fundamentally reshaping the land's rights post-colonization.
Yeah, and again, I said it on the afternoon show, but we need to start looking at this 3,000 foot overview and realize a lot of these international laws are going to be brought into Canada and they're going to be forced upon provinces, especially as Mark Carney tries to federalize and take sovereignty away from provinces. One of his big mechanisms is going to be federalization, but the other one is going to be international globalization through signing these accords.
And it's just, I mean, I'm firmly of the opinion that that Canada is under a deliberate creative destruction, and so there's several elements to that. But you basically have to completely undermine the foundations of a nation if you want to rebuild it in a different image, and that almost everything that's happening around us can be explained this way, and this is part of it. So when you talk about UNDRIP, you're talking about the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous People, and this is a treaty, and that the federal government signed. But basically, this treaty obligates countries that sign this treaty to vest property into the ownership of the Indigenous
and
people.
pause it for a second. It's not just UNDRIP. And if you think lands have already been ceded in Alberta, there's no guarantee they're not going to unseed those laws by saying they didn't know what they were signing when they signed it. They're trying to set precedents in other places of the world currently under that. We know what happened through the WHO. They're trying to have these three-letter organizations take control of entire countries through these treaties.
Preceded European colonization.
And that's exactly why we need to get independence in Alberta, so we can break free from these treaties, break free from these three-letter organizations and these global organizations as well. Mm-hmm. Why don't you get into the next article or talk a little bit? I got to get the dog her treat.
I asked him, did you get it for her? And he did not. But let's go into Jason Levine saying, quote, Canada, this is coming for you. You will all be silenced. No judge, no jury, just ordered. Alberta, get out while you can. They will use this to stop any further attempts to leave. And Bernie, or Artemis for now, says, quote, you don't need to break the law to be criminalized in Britain. You just need to annoy the wrong person. The government is pushing through something called a respect order, part of the new crime and policing bill now moving through Parliament.
So this respect order, if they don't like you talking about something, they can just issue an order telling you to stop talking about that, even if it's not illegal. So it doesn't even have to qualify under hate speech laws or compelled speech laws anymore. They'll just give you one of these orders. Then if you break that order and talk about it again, you're actually violating the order itself. Mm-hmm. So they're looking to give prison time for these kind of things. We already know, and we covered on the morning show, 12,000 arrests in the UK just last year.
So you're annoying me. Shut up.
And this is another reason why we can't delay this October 19th referendum, because they're federalizing and bringing in a lot of these same legislations inside of Canada.
That under a new law going through Parliament, you could be banned from going places, posting online, or even just speaking in public without ever committing a crime. It's called a respect order, and it's part of Britain's new crime and policing bill, the latest version released in January 2024. Here's how it works. A relevant authority, which can include your local council, the police, even a housing provider, can apply to the court for an order against you. You don't have to be there. You may not even know about it. The court just needs to be satisfied on the balance of probabilities that you might cause alarm or distress, which is very broadly defined. No criminal offense.
You're going to cause alarm or distress. That's a matter of emotion and feeling from the other party. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is extremely dangerous. If this is set as a precedent, especially in the UK, because the legal system in Canada, the entire political system in Canada is replicated after the UK, you know it's coming to Canada soon.
Mm-hmm.
No trial, no jury. And the respect order can ban you from doing anything the court describes, going anywhere, contacting people, posting online. If you breach it, it becomes a criminal offence, and you could face up to 2 years in prison. In other words, you could be ordered to stop doing things because of what someone thinks you might do, before any crime has happened. This isn't about punishing crime. It's about controlling behaviour before it happens. And this bill is active, right now, in Parliament. Are we going too far?
Okay, and we can leave it there. And I will say, yeah, this is more than a step too far. This is a mile too far. So.
And also, much more.
You're a little bit off today.
Well,
Nat.
the dog is barking. How much more 1984 can we get before more people start rallying and realizing and doing something? I mean, during that interview, the interview that we'll release later with Nico Lagan, we do say maybe for right now Canadians are too comfortable, but at what point of being uncomfortable with what's actually happening will they wake up? And he has a much brighter vision than I do about what it will take to wake up more and more people.
Yeah, we have to understand the federal government is not going to stop. They want total control here, especially when they're moving away from the United States, away from a Western value set. It's critically important that Alberta gets its independence, not just for Alberta, but because all of these countries are taking away sovereignty and going in a direction the citizens don't want to go. Alberta can be the example for the rest of the world. We'll see countries in the UK declare they want their independence and sovereignty back. Citizens in countries that don't have a chance for independence because they're already inside a country will start demanding sovereignty back to the people and wanting major changes in the system if Alberta independence is successful.
Because it is that paradigm shift, again, between citizens and their governments, and also an example of it being done through peaceful means, I will say, up to now.
Well, there has to be some kind of paradigm shift, and that's exactly what Alberta independence is, the elites versus the citizens, and we're trying to put the power in the hands of the citizens rather than the elites. People worldwide are watching their governments go rogue at this point.
Well, and how democracies used to work.
Yeah.
According to them that care so much about democracy.
I'm trying to learn to sit up straight because my back. So if you know, yeah.
First of all,
well, I usually like to be
sitting up
comfortable
straight.
and well, now I am.
Sit up straight. Okay.
You sound like a teacher. You got your etiquette book there.
Whereas Alberta says, quote, approximately $109.6 million a day is extracted from Albertans to subsidize liberal voting provinces. Let that sink in.
Over $100 million a day. This is money that can be used to build permanent infrastructure rather than what did we talk about on afternoon show? They want Canada to step up to fund LGBTQ around the world as well as abortion because Donald Trump has defunded LGBTQ as well as abortion. Now what? Canada's supposed to go around the world and fund all this stuff? This is absolutely ridiculous. If you want this money to go to the citizens, infrastructure, and things that will actually benefit the people, we're going to need to make sure this referendum goes forward on October 19th.
And being able to live a life that is worthwhile, not the life that right now you're conditioned to live in because you're in Canada and because the money is so mismanaged.
Absolutely.
Next, Eric Thorwaldson says Canada is unraveling because its institutions block the reforms they desperately need. The more they project non-existent stability and power, the more Soviet they look. Very true. And result, total loss of credibility and legitimacy of the system itself. This is what awaits Canada. This is what's already arrived at Canada, I would say.
Well, and again, I keep throwing these stories in the Alberta Stay Free section because we need to start taking a larger overview. We're not just voting for independence for economic reasons. Canada is headed in a very dark and deceptive direction right now. Federalization is coming. They're moving more and more towards, I would even say, past socialism at this point and tiptoeing into communism, directly opposing the United States, Western values in general, trying to crush Christianity through a war on Christianity while they embrace Islam.
And also doing things that just don't make sense if you look at it on the surface, but make a lot of sense if you look at the broader scheme and plans of, for example, the 30 by 30 plan and the Sovereign Wealth Fund as a means for federalization and for the federal government to take control of a lot of those resources, specifically a lot of them being in Alberta.
Absolutely. And yeah, I think Mark Carney has a much bigger vision for what he wants for Canada. And in order to float his new globalist agenda, which it seems like they've retooled, they need financing for that. The only appropriate place for financing to come is from the natural resources of Canada. And I think that's why you're going to see a strong move towards federalization over the next 3 years through Mark Carney. He has the next 3 years to do it, even if it costs him the next election, which I think he's consolidating power on top of that. So very unlikely that it will. But even if it does, he just needs to accomplish certain things set in stone through federalization.
And lastly, we got this video from Mike from Freedom.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Freedom Honey. But it is from Squid Took, about Lukasic.
Oh, I was supposed to put this in the other section. That's okay.
Okay.
It was supposed to go at the end of the next section because there's a conspiracy theory as well, but we'll play it
Do you
now.
want me to move it there?
No.
Okay.
In the suburban wilds of Alberta, a remarkable creature roams freely, the triggered honey badger, Politicus indignatus. Once a cabinet minister, now a professional defender of sacred national symbols, this territorial mammal survives almost entirely on Twitter outrage and recycled press releases. Our honey badger recently launched the Forever Canadian campaign. A spectacular display of patriotic preening designed to attract media attention and ward off rivals who dare question the sanctity of the Ottawa food chain.
Pause
But
it.
trouble brews in the prairie.
And you can see the boxes there. What it says, he has it almost looks like a AI box. It's just a printed out Edmonton, Calgary, this, that. Our box has had pictures and faces of the people that actually got the signatures.
Ecosystem. A competing species, Stay Free Alberta, has erected its own nests, curious structures featuring banners, barbecue smoke, and, most offensively, bouncy castles. Our triggered honey badger finds this intolerable. To him, the bounce of a castle represents enticement. The air blower, an act of separatist defiance. Within hours, a complaint has been filed, not against corruption or waste, but against excessive joy expressed at referendum signings. This ritual, known scientifically as performative patriotism, allows the honey badger to reassert dominance while maintaining plausible deniability. As the sun sets over Alberta, the honey badger prepares for another long night, defending the maple leaf from imaginary threats, one Facebook post at a time. For more information on the triggered honey badger, contact the Canadian Wildlife Service in Ottawa.
And thanks to Freedom Money for
To
that.
Mike.
That was absolutely fantastic.
Yes.
Anytime we can add in a little bit of comedy to the show, I'm looking for it because
Yes.
sometimes I can get a little too serious.
I like her today.
The dog's doing something. Hold on.
Yes.
What do you want? Where's your toy?
Because you tried to give her toy, but I think the toy rolled over under something and now she can't get it. So she's really frustrated because it was next to the vacuum cleaner, which she's scared of. So, but now she has it. She should be fine.
Okay. I saved the toy from the vacuum.
Thank you. Olivia Robinson says, hello, watching from Edmonton, Alberta. Hello, and thank you for being here.
Oh, and those that are in Edmonton and Calgary, if you're just out and about and you start conversations with people, if you talk about independence, it can have a huge impact, just normalizing the conversation at this point.
Sean Buckley, no, sorry. David W. Carlson says, Sean Buckley did a fantastic job.
What was that?
Because I said it wrong. Because it's David W. Carlson saying Sean Buckley did a fantastic job with the National Citizens Inquiry.
Absolutely. And we're going to try to get Sean on the show. We're still backed up for interviews we've already recorded.
Yes.
So I'm trying to catch up onto all that. So once we do interview people, the one day after we interview them, we're going to start releasing it. So there's not so much of a time.
Yeah, because we still have interviews from back in April.
2 weeks ago, yeah,
From
3 weeks
April.
ago.
So, working slowly but fast, quickly but slowly through them. Troglodyte says, boiling frog's gonna boil. Is that what the Canadians not wanting to realize? True. Sean says, guy, but you don't want to give anyone anxiety? Jokes. And Troglodyte says, Canada is the broke guy at the bar running up his credit card buying rounds for the house.
Yeah, absolutely.
And pretending like he has way more money than he has and like he has a better plan than the one he has.
Well, he's pretending like he has got more friends and supporters than he does as well. He doesn't have any supporters. Everybody's just standing around him because he's buying drinks.
But true. And
I wouldn't even say everybody's standing around him. He's trying to make it look like people are standing around him on social media. They're claiming to have had 10,000 supporters to get that petition. Yet when they show pictures, I have not seen a picture with more than 20 people. Most of the pictures have between 1 and 3 people in them.
Mm-hmm. And Portofino asks, what is NAT short for? And then KVU says, not of your business. And says, is that Mike's deuce of the week? Mike's deuce of the week, probably. I mean, he's deuce of the year at least. Lukasic. Portofino says, Eva Chipyuk for president of the Republic of Alberta. Yeah, and I brought that name up because I was like, oh, we should interview her. And you were like, she doesn't do many interviews, but that would be another good option. And again, a very parallel, I would say, pretty parallel figure to Keith Wilson.
Yeah, it would be a fantastic interview. That being said, usually when I try to look her up, I haven't been able to find it in any interview. She does a lot of speeches like at conferences and things like that. So we can still reach out to her though.
Yeah, we were always going to try. And we do have more interviews set up for this week now. So
Oh, Ellie agreed for an interview
Ellie
on Friday.
Continental, the independent journalist, so I'm really happy about that one too. But let's go into Alberta politics.
Yeah.
He doesn't discuss federal politics. He only concerns himself with Alberta's independence.
And starting with, from CTV News, quote Christopher Liu saying what rising oil prices actually mean for your cost of living. It's going to go up.
Yeah, it's gonna go up. It's gonna keep going up. It impacts every single input, whether it's domestic food, whether it's foreign food, whether it comes on a ship, whether it comes in a truck, whether it comes on a plane, whether it comes on a boat. Dr. Seuss says.
And that's what, again, yes, oil prices are going up, but they're also being artificially risen by retarded things like the carbon tax, and then blaming the US and blaming the situation in Iran for the rising cost of food prices and what it means for your cost of living if oil rises. Well, if it rises even further past what it should because you're artificially doing it,
well, there's
that tells you a
artificial.
lot about how much your government actually cares about you.
There's a lot of artificial inputs put in on farmers in Canada, and with oil prices going up, they need to deregulate some of the other aspects of inputs into farming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think if more Canadians again woke up and the frog's boiling in the boiling frog pot, like
Well,
Nancy.
Alberta is waking up.
Yes,
the problem
only
is
one.
we have to wake up to such a degree. We can put immense pressure on Danielle Smith right now so we can make sure that that vote goes forward on October 19th because everything is in our favor right now. If we wait even just a few months, things are going to start to change. We start losing that critical mass over time. We start losing the time agenda we have while Trump is in office. We need to make sure we go into negotiations and try to finalize those negotiations while Trump is in office so he recognizes us as an independent nation.
Mm-hmm. But also, Kevin in Alberta says, quote, here's one thing I don't understand about the anti-independence Albertans. All polls say you will win the binary referendum easily. Why devote so much of your energy to denying a vote you're bound to win? A strong yes vote that fails to reach majority would be the ideal result for Albertans that wish to see Alberta's concerns addressed within a united Canada. Moderate Mike says, here's one thing I don't understand about the separatists. Why risk killing your long-term dream of Alberta independence on a binary referendum that is bound to fail? And as I said, Danielle Smith just rip off the Band-Aid and put that question on the referendum so it could be answered once and for all for the 700,000+ Albertans that signed, but also for everybody else that wants that question answered.
The quicker we get to a vote on October 19th, the quicker Danielle Smith can get on with business and unifying Alberta, whether that's through independence or whether that's through staying in the country. But the question needs to be answered. Otherwise, she's going to start shedding political support. She may be ousted. Any number of things could happen. That's why I firmly believe that hopefully she's going to put this thing on that question on that ballot.
And also slow rolling it doesn't really help with either the sentiment towards her or towards Alberta or from the independent side or from the state side. It doesn't help anybody to just continue to prolong the inevitable almost.
Well, it doesn't build any confidence, that's for sure. And what we want is to build confidence. I also think putting Lukaszik's question on there, which okay, we can go that route, but I would much prefer her to just implement her parliamentary power and say, no, it's going on this because I said it's going to go on this. And I'm going to state the question that's going to go on there, which meets the Clarity Act as well.
And interestingly, from the Globe and Mail asking, why aren't more Alberta MPs standing against separatism? Maybe because they agree.
Well, more and more are coming out in favor of it. And a lot of people in Danielle Smith's own caucus actually support it now. So it's going to be very interesting. We own 60% of that caucus as it is right now, and it only goes up every single day.
Mm-hmm. And also because they might understand that they also could do better in an independent Alberta.
Well, also you have to realize who's standing up for federalization. You have Jason Kenney, you have Ninchi, you have a who's who of retards basically, and nobody wants to be seen with that group because it's going to hurt their own chances of trying to run in Alberta. The only legitimate federalist that's making any kind of argument is Danielle Smith, and she's playing both sides of the coin there. So we need her, and we allow her to play that role. But the other the other retards that are trying to pitch federalism should listen to Danielle Smith, use her arguments, because the arguments they're using are a day late and a dollar short, and they're not convincing anybody. They're actually pushing more people to go towards independence rather than towards federalism.
And also mostly just relying on the same name calling and insults that any person that doesn't really have an argument or knows that they're going to lose the argument resort to.
Yeah, and there's a lot of resentment within Alberta towards federalist and federal politicians as well. And there's a lot of federal politicians standing against Alberta independence. And I think a lot of MPs within Alberta don't want to be seen with that group. So they'd rather either stay silent on it or just come outright and support independence, which some have at this point.
And it's interesting because I had just remembered now when we were talking about Keith Wilson, is that Kenny Wilson debate still going to happen? Has there been any announcement? Because I looked it up last week and there wasn't anything much new about it. But
nobody's talking about it. And I'm not going to be surprised if I'm sure Keith Wilson isn't backing out of this thing, but if Jason Kenney does, Jason Kenney is looking for a way out at this point.
Well, now he could get either EBOLA or the Hanta thing.
Yeah.
So now he has 2 more excuses to say, no, I can't go. I'm sick. And this was a theory you were talking about from Freedom Honey or Mike saying, quote, this is getting wild. The new anti-separatist theory is that Lukasik is actually a separatist plant.
No, I don't believe any of this, but this just shows the conspiracy rabbit holes the left is going down to try to make sense of independence at this point and how it has so much support.
And also because they can't fathom within their cognitive dissonance that people might think differently than them and might have actually good arguments against staying in Canada because they've been suffering through that already.
Okay, here's the conspiracy theory. Thomas Lukasik is a separatist, a double agent. The Forever Canadian petition was put forward specifically for this moment. They already knew that the First Nations would throw another injunction at them. Think about it. What even prompted Lukasik to ask the question? The question is literally the exact opposite of the referendum question for separation. Do you believe that Alberta should stay within Canada? They knew Danielle Smith would consider democracy first and appeal the decision. This man is controlled opposition. Changed my mind. Why do you think he dragged his feet this whole time? Silly separatists abandon her leadership and then go running back to mommy. Okay, here's the conspiracy.
The one good thing that I liked what he said there was they knew she would side with democracy all along. And that's kind of what we've been saying, because any politician in their right mind that wants to unify people in a province would vote for democracy. And that's what she needs to do.
And that's not a bad thing.
Oh, let's go
Stephen Jensen, thank you so much for the $5.
Nothing.
For the $5 super chat saying, do you think apathy from the lefties will influence the voter no vote? The yes voters are motivated to show up.
Yeah, and that's what I've been saying. I think now I don't want to pitch this. I don't want to get the highest percent possible, but I think critical mass for us is about 45%. 45% should guarantee us about 52% of the vote, I'm thinking, because we are the motivated side to come out. And recent independence votes like the Brexit vote has kind of showed that people that want freedom and independence will come out to the polls, while the other side won't, especially when it's not a national election. It's kind of a midterm by-election.
Mm-hmm. And it might get harder to get them to go there, but if they can motivate them enough and fearmonger and scare them enough, then I would say especially more older people would show up.
I just don't see him showing up, but we'll see what kind of happens here. But I think
they got a bunch of people to wear masks.
Yeah, but you also have to look at we had 7,000 petitioners, and they said they had 10,000 petitioners. Our 7,000 were out every single day in the worst conditions. A lot of people said they didn't even see one of these 10,000 petitioners. Maybe they were in Edmonton and Calgary, and we don't have a lot of people there, but they didn't see them throughout the entire province. And if they did volunteer, they probably volunteered a day here or a day there, got a signature here or a signature there. We were there day in and day out. You better that guarantees large amounts of people are not only going to the polls, but are going to be driving people and have friend groups that they're going to make sure go that day. And that's going to be very important. I know the Centurion Project has been involved in a scandal, but they had a very good plan in order to coordinate a lot of people to show up on the polls on the day of the election. Mm-hmm. It's much like what they did through the Trump campaign and Charlie Kirk.
Yes, sorry. Something got in my eye. Not crying. Something got in my eye. Sean says, you know who really is affected by the higher oil and gas prices? The MMWG, 2SLGBTQQIIAA+, and newcomer communities. Until they are fully affected and can come out in March and say that they are, the government doesn't really care that everybody else can't afford groceries or has to go to food banks.
Yeah.
Except for the ones that take advantage of the food banks by, not really needing them and yet still going.
Well, Carney put out a statement and they called it the LGBTQ community. And he forgot all the other acronyms and nobody got on him about it. I thought he would get fired.
You should get fired.
Yeah.
Like the Air Canada CEO.
Not speaking alphabet is like not speaking French in Canada.
True. Sean says, for the time back in the 80s and 90s when I was in BC, I never had a sense of strong Canadian patriotism. The impression I got, they would be just as happy to be part of the USA. So this resistance is odd. Well, it's politically useful for Carney.
Well, and I don't think there's a strong patriotism there. I think it's there, but even when John talking to Albertans goes out to the dog park and somebody sides with Canada federalism or they're patriotic, it's not extremely firm like with somebody like independence. So when the day of the vote comes, independence people are going to know when it's time to vote. The other side may just stay home, or if they have something else to do, they might just not make the poll. And I think that's very, very likely.
And it's a false sense of patriotism. It's a national socialistic type of patriotism that is enforced upon the people through fear-mongering and being scared, not through an honest sense of duty and patriotism to the country, but from, the US is coming to attack us and you have to stand for Canada and buy Canadian.
Well, and it's just strange when Canada's been erasing its history, erasing his historical figures, renaming its streets, renaming its schools, renaming its bridges, and trying to forget its past rather than actually save Western values, which Alberta independence is all about. If you want to save your identity, save the idea of what Western values were founded on, which was Christianity ultimately, people are going to be motivated to go out and vote for freedom and independence because we see it disappearing, not just in Canada. We see them disappearing globally.
And no, they come out to say, Canadians are terrible, horrible people that have to repent 24/7, feel guilty 24/7, but be patriotic and be prideful and buy Canadian. That it doesn't work that way. It's not true patriotism. Sean says Brexit happened for this very reason in a way.
Well, and you also have to remember, people that are patriotic and really Albertan and want to save Western values and identify with Christianity and strong moral beliefs and things like that, this is something that they hold near and dear to their heart. Mm-hmm. Stuff like let's just take a minority community. They're going to have dual loyalties. Yeah, they might be proud to be Canadian, but they're also extremely proud to be Indian or Chinese or wherever else they're from. They hold dual loyalties. So how proud are they actually to be Canadian? Mm-hmm. And if you were to ask them, are you more proud to be Indian or are you more proud to be Canadian? I have a sneaking suspicion they might say Indian, and I don't think it's a motivating factor the day of October 19th. They just have to make sure they go out to vote that day.
Unless they get something in return for going. Then that's the real motivator.
Yeah, but people are going to be looking closely. But I guess we'll have to see what happens.
Stephen Jensen says, true, and the establishment didn't take it seriously either. The vote, because he had asked that. Michael Drader, hello, and thank you for being here, says, hey, all Mexicans, already at 28 likes. Thank you so much. And again, says, way to go, 72 to go before memberships are gifted. And again, Michael Drader has made this pact with all of you and us that if we get to 100 likes during the live stream, he will gift 5 memberships to the channel. So thank you so much to Michael Drader.
Yeah, and I think we might reach 100. We've never reached it before live, but if Danielle Smith were to announce something on Thursday, which there's rumors in the air, I'm not going to keep my fingers crossed, but if she were to announce that, I think it would be a big day for Alberta independence.
Sean says exactly, but how willing are they to cheat is my question. I think the judge threw out because the government has seen the real polling and it's not good for the Remainers. Yeah.
How willing are they to cheat? We already know the answer to that question. Okay. They're cheating at every possible opportunity they have, whether it's installing foreign judges to make ideological decisions that don't follow the law but follow ideology. This is only the beginning. And that's why I say they are willing to cheat at every turn. They're willing to make backroom deals. That's why we need to keep a close eye on Danielle Smith. As much as I like her, she needs to come down with a firm decision that this question is going to be on that October 19th ballot, and she needs to do it quickly. If she comes out on Thursday, I'm going to be extremely happy. She will have unified the independence vote with the federalist vote, no matter what happens in that election.
Mm-hmm. And David W. Carlson says, oops, I used an emoji. I'm giving myself a timeout. And again, and it helps me bring it up again. In case you didn't know, we don't ban or censor anything, but we do block links and emojis just because we used to get a lot of spam. So if you send any messages with emojis, they might not show, they probably won't show up, or with links. Just so you know. Charlotte says, Danielle made me shake my head when she said the industrial carbon tax won't affect consumers. And I'm right there with you, shaking my head as well.
Absolutely ridiculous, the deals she's making and the precedents she's setting, not only on this MOU, but going forward. How many MOUs are going to have to be signed for every single natural resource contract? This is going to prevent private industry from investing within Alberta. What does that mean? That means she's going to need investment, but no private investment wants to come in. Oh, Mark Carney's going to come with federalization, and she's going to have to jump through some more hoops.
Charlie Knight says, if you describe your motorhome as purring, you're not for independence. Who does that? Don Adelac says, hi, NNG, and everyone, hello, and thank you for being here. And Charlie Knight says, if you're too lazy to want self-determination, you will also likely be too lazy to go to a polling place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hopefully.
Well, and it's not just about lazy to go to a polling place. Like, people on the independent side are going to be having carpools. They're going to make sure there's ride sharing that day. They're going to make sure if you do need a ride, there's going to a number you can call so you can get a ride to go and vote.
True. And the other side will just
and we're going to one other thing, we're going to need that. We're going to need to make sure there is a number you can call if you need a ride to go vote. Why? Because the majority of our hardened supporters are in rural areas. There's far less voting booths in rural areas. This is how they were able to kind of rig Arizona, by putting massive amounts in very liberal districts and the heart of the cities, very little in rural areas. And then a lot of the rural areas either closed or closed early, and people from those areas never went to find another polling station, and ultimately that's how Arizona was rigged.
Christu, hello, says, hello, dears Alberta Independence. Let's effing go. Yes, and says, just got the email from UCP. Danielle is inviting the UCP members for a virtual town hall on Saturday morning. Ominous. Interesting. It might be to quell reactions after a Thursday announcement, or it could be to, I guess, test the waters.
If she's going to announce it, she's going to want to announce it to UCP members first, because she wants to talk directly to the independence individuals within the UCP. So possibly a big announcement on Saturday. That being said, if she announces anything other than that, and there is a question period, people need to raise their voices. There needs to be an uproar, a matter of fact, if after Saturday, if she calls this meeting for UCP members and 60% of the members are independence members at this point, we need to come out hard on social media and let her know how we feel. I have a feeling, I hope Saturday is an announcement.
Yes. Or Thursday, as you said, as a rumor mill.
Or Thursday.
Or Friday, who knows. But let's go to Alberta Personalities.
But they need to understand that Albertans are done, we're leaving, and there's no more conversation to be had. I know that's upsetting to people.
Just, Danielle, make the announcement. Starting with, or if it's the only one, Alberta Separation says, quote, will a Trudeau-appointed judge tell Yves-François Blanchet he can't have a separatist party in Quebec?
And that's the thing. Nobody says anything to Quebec. A matter of fact, when bad legislation and bad law are followed by an ideological judge in Alberta, it was up to Quebec to set them straight, saying, no, it's 51%, not 60%, not 65%. And why is it Quebec that has to speak up for Western Canada? Because Western Canada has no political power. It's absolutely rigged. And this liberal rigged system in Ottawa seems to only want to listen to Quebec because that's the way they cling on to power.
And again, right after this live show, we will premiere our interview with Nico Lagan at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. This live will kind of spit you out into the interview. But interestingly enough, he does speak about this Bill 99 or Rule 99 that there is within Quebec, which essentially says it can supersede anything that the federal government tells them to. So they've already put in those mechanisms that Alberta, I'm guessing, didn't even know should have been put in or couldn't put in.
Alberta knows, and Alberta is relying on those same mechanisms as the thing as precedents. That's kind of been brought up by Keith Wilson.
Well, I looked at you wrong. Broke the illusion. Because usually to look at him while we were looking at the screen and look the other way.
Okay, they don't know how we have the screen set up, Nat.
No, but it looked weird when I turned around. Okay, going back into your comments. Glenn Gunn says, you got that right, guy. The vote ends at Thunder Bay.
Oh, I didn't get that comment.
Glenn Gunn says, you got that right, guy. The vote ends at Thunder Bay.
Yeah, I heard that. I heard the comment. I just don't know what
Well,
it
it
means.
ends at the most extreme part of
Okay, let's
Alberta.
continue
I
with
almost
the
said Quebec,
comments.
Alberta. And hold on. KP4U says, Alberta independence.
Maybe
to...
it's just because I don't know where Thunder Bay is at. Maybe it's in Quebec.
Sure. Alberta independence to soon. It'll be a national holiday. KP4U says, is there any way of buying my UCP membership in person?
Well, no,
Or
but
ask.
we shouldn't delay buying UCP memberships. Just buy it online so we have the numbers, especially going into Saturday. If we can get another surge of UCP memberships when she's supposed to announce something big on Saturday, it's going to be very interesting.
Ontario.
Yeah.
No, Michael Trader
Yeah,
says it's in Ontario.
Thunder Bay's in Ontario. I got it, Nat.
William Bell from the U.S. also corrected you. Troglodyte says, the election decided at the edge of Ontario. We don't matter in the West. No, of course not. Alberta's independence will be decided. Well, if it continues to work in the mechanisms it has been working for voting within Alberta in a federal level, then yeah, they would rather have it be decided there. Stephen Johnson says no, Western Ontario. Glenn Gunn says the Canadian vote ends at Northern Ontario. The election is called by them.
Yeah,
But not this one.
It's all decided within Ottawa and Quebec, and they keep that power consolidated there, and that's why we need out. And we've seen the most recent example of this through the ideological judge appointed by Ottawa over Alberta to decide its destiny. And that's not enough. We're going to have to keep going. We're going to have to push this thing forward.
And Pete says top of Lake Superior. Yes, thank you. Now I had to take when I did political science in Canada, I had to take Canadian geography, but it pops out of my head sometimes. Christu says, quote, she says, to hear directly from her about the important issues facing our province and our work to get the job done for Alberta.
Nobody gives a shit
That's
about
what Danielle said.
Nobody gives a shit about the important issues Danielle Smith is saying. There's one question we want answered, and we can focus on those important issues after she puts this on the October 19th referendum. And people need to speak up and tell her if she doesn't address the question soon, by the end of the month, there's going to be an ousting on the menu. Independence one way or another. Independence for Alberta from Canada, or independence for Alberta from Danielle Smith. And we'll put somebody in there that will make sure that question will be answered.
And Christu says, easily done online, getting a UCP membership. I did it last week, but there might be people that can only pay cash. That's the only way I'm thinking it would be important to be able to do it in person. Maybe the headquarters, if they have.
Maybe they want people to stop buying memberships, so they'll only accept digital currency pretty soon.
Sean asks, what is Lake Superior? A lake. And Pete answers, Stinky Pulp and Paper Place. Yeah, because they I don't know if they still have that much. Yeah, I'm guessing they still have a lot of paper production.
There's a lot of industry that's intentionally monopolized and put in Ontario and Quebec. So once Alberta gets its independence, it has a lot of industries it's going to be able to build from the ground up. And its economy is just going to grow far beyond natural resources.
Sean says Lake Inferior, and Pete says largest of the Great Lakes. Glenn Gunn says where the rest of you know what happened, I guess. Because it says where the wreck of you, but I'm sure that wasn't the case. Troglodyte says Alberta, Cinderella, Ontario, and Quebec are the ugly stepsisters. Alberta is Cinderella.
Oh,
Ontario,
wait,
and
let's
Quebec.
go into Alberta's Canada. You're
Does
losing
anybody
your
remember?
words here.
No, it's because there was typos, and I'm
Okay.
trying to figure it out. Crystal says the day after buying the membership, I received another email with the virtual membership card.
Oh, fantastic. It's good that they're actually going through with the memberships really quickly, and they're not trying to delay anything like the federal government would in a situation like this.
And KP4U, and as I suspected, says, I don't do a lot of online purchases. You do good. I'm pretty old school. I don't even have a regular credit card. Maybe my virtual Visa debit card might work. And that's why he was asking if he could do it in person. And I'm sure he's not the only one that might be in that situation.
Yeah, you might be able to buy a prepaid card from a 7-Eleven or something like that as well. I don't know.
Yeah. And Christu says, you got that right, guy. Sean says, we get all our paper from China in the U.S. Glenn Gunn says, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Great tune. Oh, okay. How would I have known that?
Okay, and let's go into Alberta's Canada if we can.
Yes.
I'm angry. I've had enough of these people.
Oh, oops. I left that one on there. Okay, starting with from the Toronto Star, quote, Ontario police are using spyware that lets them remotely take over your smartphone. They're fighting. Why can't I read? They're fighting to keep almost everything about it secret, of course.
Yeah, this is extremely concerning. This is not just spying on your phone. This is taking control of your phone remotely. That means they would be able to implant things on your devices. If you're some kind of unsavory character and they can't get anything on you, who knows what links they'll go to. I mean, this is the federal government here we're talking about and local police departments. This is very concerning. They can take control over your phone remotely. Not spying on it was concerning enough to me. This is a whole nother level.
But again, this a furtherance of this will be Bill C-22, because it essentially allows them to do this to get all the logs from your service providers, be them cell phone providers or internet providers, and ask them to log your activity and then share it with them if they need it at some point to prosecute you probably, or to go after you, or to look further into you. So again, worrying enough, but now apparently we knew this. There's been cases in Europe, for example, where independent journalists like Eva Vlardingerbroek came out to say, Apple sent me a message saying that someone was trying to get into my phone. And then when I asked them about it, Apple themselves told her that, oh, it was a government operative.
Yeah, it's one thing to have remote. Go back to that for a minute real quick. It said remote access or
remotely take over your smartphone.
Remotely take over is different
Using
than
spyware.
Remotely taking over somebody's phone is different than remotely spying on somebody's phone. And I'm very concerned on
because they can do things.
They can do things in there. What happens if they implant some kind of content you're not supposed to have on your phone and then charge you with a crime because of it?
Oh, that too.
Pretty soon you're just gonna have to get rid of your smartphone completely so the government can't get you.
But again, it's already being done in Europe.
Yeah.
Vlardingerbroek, Eva Vlardingerbroek already told us about it, and a bunch of other independent journalists too.
But that's a bit different. That's spying within the phone. That's what I'm saying. This is a step even further than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Took me a while. I'm slow today. I'm sorry. Ellie Kenton and Tell says, quote, constitutional lawyer Josh DeHaas sounds the alarm on Carney's dystopian Bill C-22 as the U.S. warns the Liberal government of consequences.
Now, I haven't seen this whole interview yet, but it looks absolutely fantastic, and it seems like he's asking the right questions here.
And DeHaas says the bill lays the groundwork for a surveillance state, even further.
They're collecting everyone's data. They're turning everyone's phone into essentially a tracking device.
And the music's pretty loud. We have noise canceling, so I apologize if you can't hear the words very well.
For government purposes, this is creating a surveillance state apparatus. And then in the future, when there is an emergency or when there is some sort of social panic, whether it's something like COVID-19 or it's something like the Freedom Convoy, that the government's going to turn this surveillance state that they already have on their own citizens. And so that's really the risk. This is a big step towards a surveillance state that bad actors could abuse. They're collecting
Yeah, and that's the concerning part. Everybody's just going along with the surveillance state within Canada. And then when they don't have a single problem with it because they think it's going to be turned on their enemies or their opponents. And right now it looks like they're going to probably want to turn it on Alberta independence. But you better believe they're going to turn it on the entirety of the population at some point.
And not only that, but what I used to say every time I would talk about the bills that Trudeau wanted to introduce regarding censorship, etc., is that once those bills are passed, they will be there, and don't make a mistake. And here I do also agree with Nico Lagan, whose interview is coming out after the live, stay to watch it, with him saying that all politicians, all political parties, what they want is they want to continue to vie for power and have that power. Do you think the Conservatives will want to get rid of a bill that allows them these kinds of same mechanisms, but against the Liberals or against the degeneracy that they could paint it as, or that it is, but that they will use as an excuse to paint it as, to also go after them? What I would always tell people is that, yes, right now, going after hate speech and your political enemies and the words you don't like sounds great and dandy, but what if the other side gets in and uses those same mechanisms against you? That is what you have to consider and think when you impose things like hate speech and restrictions on free speech, because it'll not just affect the side that you're wanting it to affect, but it'll affect everybody and yourself as well.
I'm less concerned about one side getting in and using it on the other side. I think what we see coming in the future of Canada is much more of a uniparty. Yeah. And when that uniparty happens, the big cavern between Liberals and Conservatives, a lot of it had to do with natural resources. If Carney actually tries to federalize natural resources and he gets far enough along where it's an inevitability because he's currently building all the mechanisms, what are the conservatives going to do? They're going to get on board because they're the ones preaching we need to access natural resources. I don't want to access natural resources if it doesn't help the citizens of the province itself.
But even there at the end, Josh Tejas, I think was his name, was saying that not only is it concerning that the government is being able to use all, bless you, being able to use and wanting to implement this level of control, surveillance, and censorship on its own citizens, but also that other state actors or nefarious actors or bad people could also use them and use ways to get in and use and take advantage of that information. And I know it very well because that is literally what is happening here in Mexico now that they're trying to implement ways to further surveil people for their safety and security. Well, a lot of those are being used by the very same people they're trying to use it against, because now they have all the information of the citizens and they've started to do
what she's talking about are data breaches, and data breaches are abundant within Canada. I guess the federal government thinks that we don't know about it because they make massive payoffs for data breach and ransom demands. We were sitting at a coffee shop one time and I talked about this. There have been massive data breaches of the medical sector, and we were overhearing two security experts talk about a federal breach within the national system. There was a major ransom for. I started looking into it and talking to one of my friends that was a security expert within Canada. He said Canada is one of the most targeted regions because they don't have much security and data breaches happen on a regular basis. That's why them trying to blow the Centurion thing out of the water and make it a bigger deal than it is. This happens on probably a monthly basis in Canada because the federal government has built weak data systems.
And also within businesses and corporations, I also remember there was this huge data breach with London Drugs when we were there. Mm-hmm. And they had to shut down the stores for, I think it was a week or 2 weeks because they didn't know how to fix it. Yeah. And they didn't know what to do, if they should pay or not pay or what to do.
Let's continue on here.
Lastly, the kid is coming for us, a super kid. Mark Nixon says, quote, CBC is already warning Canadians about a super El Nino. Record-breaking temperatures this summer and a warmer winter ahead, more severe fire season, always convenient, because of burning fossil fuels, of course. So more excuses to continue with their idiocy.
We'll watch the entire thing here. We'll pause it a few times because I don't want to get dinged, but it's the second half or the last quarter that's very interesting.
The world is in for an El Nino event, driven by warmer than average waters in the Pacific Ocean. This year, that global weather pattern could be more severe than normal, something meteorologists call a super El Nino.
We are saying that the El Nino is likely to happen, and this event will be strong.
That means some countries will see severe flooding, while others will be hit with hotter heat waves and even drier droughts. El Ninos happen every 2 to 7 years. In Canada, that will likely mean above average winter temperatures.
Pause it.
In British Columbia.
Oh no, above average winter temperatures. What does that even make sense? We just had a snowstorm in Alberta just a few days ago.
But they could say that that's because of this.
Yeah, areas like
Pause
this
it.
lake.
No, they can't, because they just said that would be warmer temperatures. Warmer temperatures would be no snowstorm.
Interior are already under special management due to low snowpack and persistent dry conditions. A super El Nino would be the first in a decade, and a new report has a warning about forests in Canada, the US, Australia, and the Amazon.
The likelihood of harmful extreme fires potentially could be the highest we've seen in recent history if a strong El Nino does develop.
There has already been
and pause it again. All these extreme fires that are happening, especially in Canada, end up being man-made if you look at the statistics.
Because of forest mismanagement as well, because they let that kindling stand, they don't do controlled burns, and also they spray glyphosate all over the place to dry them even further.
Start to the global fire season. More than 150 million hectares burned worldwide between January and April. But experts say El Nino is not the reason to freak out.
El Nino is a natural phenomenon. It comes and goes. Climate change, on the contrast, gets worse and worse and worse as long as we do not stop burning fossil fuels
Scientists
And pause
adding
it. They try to set up this whole thing on El Nino. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. It's climate change. We need to stay focused, people. Absolutely crazy. And that was the part of the video I said was the most interesting part.
Stop
the fact
burning
that
fossil
they're trying to sell you one line of BS just to sell you another line of BS.
El Nino on top of an already warming world will likely result in 2027 being a record-breaking year, and maybe even 2026 too.
It is now no longer possible to just say, oh, this is just something that the scientists worry about. It doesn't affect normal people. It's affecting normal people, and it's affecting them all over the world.
The El Nino is forecasted to develop in the summer and intensify late fall. Whether it will turn into a super El Nino is yet to be seen.
But it doesn't matter if it does because it's climate change is the thing.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
And back to your comments. Hold on. Pete says, gotta get a Faraday bag. At this rate. And Sean says, I lived in Europe when the Patriot Act passed and thought it was terrible and really worried about its abuse, and was very right, unfortunately. And few people that were already looking at it for what it was going to be ended up being right all along, and not the conspiracy theorists that they try to paint them as. Sean says, in the end, if you know Lord of the Rings and the good guys like Boromir who desire the ring to rule caused the ring to end back up in the hands of evil. You must throw these laws into Mount Doom. Exactly, because any grasp or reach for power, ultimate desire only to have power instead of being able to wield power to do something positive or beneficial, not just for yourself but for everybody else, will end up in chaos and in destruction. And your own destruction too. Sean says, think of how global warming would end if the USA could adopt. Think of how global warming would end if the USA would adopt Celsius. You would go from 100 to 30, global warming solved. That would be the fastest and easiest and cheapest way. And pretty much as effective as I think everything else they're trying to do with their green policies. They should just do that instead.
Again, they said none of this El Nino mattered. It's all about climate change and the carbon in the atmosphere. Again, Canada has so much landmass and so much trees. If they would calculate that in, we suck more carbon out of the air than we put into it. It's one of the few countries that actually do that. We've covered those statistics multiple times on the show. Yet Canada is the most climate zealoted country in the world, even though they're the ones doing a net positive for the environment.
Stephen Jensen says, windstorm just hit Mirror 2 minutes ago. Must be climate change. Not.
We had a freaking crazy thunderstorm here between shows. It actually shook the building a little bit.
It was shaking everything around us. Glenn Gunn says, I'm too old for here. No, you're not. I just don't know much about pop culture. Glenn Gunn says, try that on my flip phone. Never had a dumb phone. True. And that is also why Gen Z keeps looking into older technologies and have become enamored with the idea and the notion of less digitalized lives because we're seeing where it goes. Glenn Gunn says, good point, guy. Trolodite says, if the Canadian government isn't watching you, you aren't doing it right. Hello to our minders. Primoris 007 says, look into Graphene OS. It was tested against Pegasus and was not breached.
I don't know too much about cyber. I used to have a friend that was a cybersecurity expert, really top notch in most of Canada. But I don't talk to him.
He barely knows how to turn on a computer.
She does all the digital side here for the show.
I set up all the show. I set up.
Hold on.
I upload. I edit.
I gather all the stories. I do all the thumbnails. I get no credibility. I get no credit.
You have no credibility. That is true. You get no credibility. I do agree with that one.
Continue on, fat face.
Don says, I'm where you are, Glenn. And so am I. Glenn says, hard enough to have a full grocery bag. Exactly. Troglodyte says the Patriot Act was supposed to be temporary. Everything, all of these things are supposed to be temporary.
Taxes was supposed to be temporary. Actually, taxes didn't exist until the World Wars, and then they brought them in for the 1%, and it's just expanded out from there. And that's why we need a reset. This is the way the government's run today is not the way the government was supposed to run at its founding. Well, maybe in Canada, but not the United States.
Glenn Gunn says, can you imagine Danielle's position? She really needs to pick a side on the game. British Bulldog, now that's old.
Yeah, if she tries to play a game on Saturday and tries to sell us some BS where it's going to take another 6 months or she's not putting the question on, that's it, period. And we need to start letting her know that. And Saturday really needs to be that that inflection point for us where whatever she says, if she tries to sell us any kind of other BS, then that question is going on there. We need to start ramping up the pressure then because I assume that she's not going to put it on there.
Don Alex says, "You testing me, Glenn?" And Glenn Gunn says, CBC, where did they get their info? Snowed on Saturday. This happens all the time. Exactly. And also says, this is a California BS statement. All the ifs. Yeah. Troglodyte says, I sweated a bit today. The world is ending. And Glenn Gunn says, I'm guessing to that one of those people they showed, get a real haircut. Unless they mean you.
Maybe.
Troglodyte says, Drumheller was a tropical swamp without humans around. And Glenn Gunn says, we had big dogs back then. Todd says, I have a Faraday bag for my phone. Those are the ones that you fold over, right?
Yeah.
Clip. Yeah. Sean says, more effective, whatever happened to the hole in the ozone layer? We were supposed to lose it by now. Yeah, we're supposed to be burning up.
Every 10 years, they sell you, it's the last 10 years just to get your vote.
William Robel says, I'm going to have to get out the rotary phone. Oh, I miss those.
Yeah, they're hard to use. I don't think you've ever used one.
I have. Remember, Mexico is about 10 years behind technologically. It used to be about 10 years behind technologically than the US and Canada.
You're real bad with math. I don't know if you could use a rotary phone.
I can. Todd says, Mission Darkness brand Faraday bag. Okay. Thank you for the suggestion. Todd says, you don't have any credibility with the Mark guy. Nor do we want to.
We need to break free from that man.
Troglodyte says you could outsource Nat's job to India.
I know. I was thinking about it.
No, don't give him ideas. And Sean asks, you know who's most affected by Super El Nino? And I'm guessing you're typing it out, but the MMIGW22S2LGBTM, the alphabet soup.
The backwards alphabet community.
Glenn Gunn says, I love those. Stephen Jensen says, government paid climate scientists will all say anything to keep our paycheck flowing.
Yeah. And
to keep scaring the population.
The alternative scientists are really starting to come out and their research is coming to the surface because there's not so much money going out through USAID and other NGOs to suppress information anymore. So now all of a sudden there's starting to be two sides to the conversation here.
Because for the longest time, a lot of scientists and a lot of professors, etc., were taken out of the realm of academia and of prestige and of being experts because they didn't agree with the approved narrative and timeline that they wanted them to be on.
They still are.
Yes.
The difference is even with pushing them out, the research is starting to surface to the top and they can't repress it because there's not money to repress it now. That's one thing to fund a bunch of bogus science. That's one thing. They're still doing that. But now they're still trying to do that, but they don't have as much funding, so they can't repress the other side on top of that. They had to do two things in order to repress the conversation, as well as have massive censorship online. And they've lost that arm as well, at least temporarily while Trump's in office.
And Sean says, you're right, Nat. Thank you. Yes. Let me see. Let me go back to your other message so I can read it out. Oh, now I can't find it. But Michael Drader says, hey, we're close to being on pace for gifted memberships. 53 likes remaining. So get on it. Hit the like button. If you already hit it, don't hit it twice because then you just remove it.
Well,
but again, Michael Drader will get 5 gifted memberships to people out there that receive them randomly. So thank you so much to Michael Drader.
And I don't think we're going to make it to 7 for the show. So everybody's not going to be dropped into the interview.
Yeah, they will.
How would that work?
Good. Me explaining YouTube. Here's my job that can be outsourced to India.
Okay.
Get an Indian man to explain this to you.
He might do it a little nicer than Nat's about to do it, but go ahead.
So basically, the way it works.
See, the Indian won't have that kind of attitude with me.
Well, they will. They will once they have to explain things to you and you don't understand them. When the live ends, every time you redirect people or a crowd to either another live or a video that's premiering or something else, once the live ends, if they don't move anything on their screens, it just turns into the other video. So it will take them to the wait screen for the video. And then it'll automatically start once it hits 7 p.m.
Oh, okay. It's going to be a while. So people will hopefully come back for the interview. Okay. I was just wondering how that worked.
Now everybody knows. The more you know. Hold on. Todd says there's entire windmill farms in China connected.
You've convinced me, Nat. I won't outsource your job to India.
Thank you.
It's safe.
Todd says there's entire windmill farms in China connected to nothing for international propaganda. There's a lot of things done in China for propaganda.
There's
including buildings.
It doesn't surprise me. There's entire windmill farms not connected to anything here in the U.S. and Canada as well.
That too.
And when they do, the interesting thing is the windmills in the ocean off the east coast of Canada there, when they calculate how much they cost, they completely rig the numbers. They don't calculate how much it costs for all the wiring, cabling to actually connect it to the grid, which is a massive increase in cost, which makes it non-cost effective. Plus, they don't take the recycling cost or the manufacturing cost into effect.
Mm-hmm. Glenn Gunn says, CO2 means life, lack thereof. When you buried it means great big booms. Mm-hmm. Things go boom when you try to hide gases. Literally and metaphorically. From Morris 007 says, Graphene OS is a hardened smartphone operating system built from scratch for privacy, high encryption, physical and software security. Watch some YouTube videos on it. The Jays could get into it.
Oh, I did hear about it.
But again, not giving any technological or security advice to anybody.
Yeah.
Troglodyte says, apparently the world ended a few years ago, according to science. Yeah. I mean, according to, what's his name again?
Well, CERN is... CERN, we'll talk about this on Rumble, I guess.
Are you on Billy? Al Gore, his whole documentary, An Inconvenient Truth. Yeah, the world was supposed to be done by now, but here we are. It does seem like the world is ending, though, every day.
Oh, yeah, let's go to Alberta and the world.
Alberta, save yourselves. Sean says, get ready for a super La Nina. That's a different one. I think that's when it's the opposite way around, right? Because El Nino is this one.
I don't even know which one's which. I know they're both fake.
La Niña means the girl in Spanish. El Niño means the boy. And Glenn Gunn says El Nata. Funnily enough, nata means condensed milk. Well, milk that's been burnt.
Okay, let's go into Alberta and the world here.
I'm losing it. Glenn Gunn says,
you keep reading. Pay attention.
Glenn Gunn says all guys' fault. We don't click fingers at people.
The Indians don't mind.
Charlie Defoe says, hi from... Don't do that because people get angry. Charlie Defoe says, hi from Sherwood Park. Cheers. Hello. Thank you for being here. Okay, we're going to Alberta and the world, and then I'll keep reading your comments. And starting with, from Juno News, quote,
and I don't think... Oh, God. Between... shows you're going to have to grab some more articles for the
posts
night one. Yeah.
Juno News says, quote, Sue-Ann Levy writes, I fear that Mark Carney either does not really understand or has opted not to understand the infiltration of the Muslim Brotherhood in Canada. Chosen not to. Levy says Canada sleepwalks into Islamist extremism crisis. It's been sleepwalking for a long time.
I think it's starting to become obvious to me what he's doing. It's a war on Christianity, and the majority of the population are actually Christian. So he'll crush that class of people first by importing the Muslim people, giving them special rights and votes, but there's still a much lower percentage, even though the percentage is going up. But after he's done dealing with Christianity, he's going to come after Islam next. You better believe it. So, and that's the thing. Muslims and people of other religions need to wake up. It's Christianity today. It's your religion tomorrow, because the government doesn't want any God being put above the government.
Exactly. Marcus Dallas says, quote, by getting rid of paper archives and replacing them with digital archives, they can erase history. One day you'll encounter the message, the page does not exist. And the next day you'll see them deny that it ever really happened.
And don't say the name. Don't say the name.
Asa. They just said that.
We'll get throttled otherwise.
I know. But my brain didn't function enough. But again, very pressing quote. And does that not sound exactly like 1984? And the fact that we're discussing this and that this is actually happening in real time and that the mechanisms are being put in place to fully enact things like this and erase history, but not just history, judicial records, anything they want and they can to erase, they will.
Well, and this is a very old quote, and now we're living through it in the modern day.
And people will forget that quote, but also that the information that was erased will eventually be also forgotten by those that never knew it.
Yeah.
And that's how you lose knowledge.
And one more post here.
Yes. Posticle.
Stop saying that, please.
Trigonometry says, quote, why everyone is wrong about AI. Jimmy Carr explains. I like Jimmy Carr.
We went to San Francisco. We were there for a few days. A third of the cars on the road don't have a human in them. They're just driving around by themselves. They're Waymos. Right. You know, the big AI stuff is moving. I don't know how quickly it will manifest in things that replace human beings, but it's moving pretty quickly. And when we were in New York, I don't know if you saw it when you were there, giant billboard in Times Square or somewhere there saying, stop hiring humans, the age of the AI employees here. And I thought that was pretty badly thought through, personally.
Wow. I mean, that's really Orwellian, isn't it?
A little bit, and also kind of stupid if you're that company, because you're putting, you know, a big mark on yourself, I would think, in many people's eyes. But anyway, my point being, the world is going. I think the vast majority of people, including myself, until we went there, have absolutely no idea what's coming. And I think,
and I like the other direction he's going to go here. It's very interesting. It's not your normal take, I think.
Even now, after having been there, I don't think we know exactly the way it's going to take.
So you go, okay, so the people are worried about the wrong thing with AI, in my humble opinion. People are worried about losing their job. Right? Perfectly valid thing to worry about. But I think you're worried about the wrong thing. And there's two other things you could really worry about. Firstly, the cost of running an authoritarian regime like the Stasi has come down by 10 orders of magnitude in the last 3 years. Used to be, if you had to run the Stasi, if you're in East Germany back in the day, that was like 20% of GDP on spying on people and keeping an eye out.
And and the Canadian government realizes this, and because we were first to move with Alberta independence, they don't have these mechanisms built yet. That's why we can't wait for 5 or even 6 months. It becomes cheaper and more effective to them to monitor and then put a lot of censorship laws online and to target Alberta independence.
Now, you've got a bunch of cameras, you've got AI, everyone's got a phone on them, and we're tracking everything at all times, okay? That's a worry, because we live in liberal democracies, and we're very lucky to, but our leaders, how long will they resist that temptation? You know, digital ID.
What happened during COVID? I mean,
well, digital ID is terrifying. There's lots of lessons from history about digital ID that we should take very seriously, because even if the good guys are in charge when it comes in, well, at what point does the world turn and people vote for a bad guy and then they have the power? More Jews died in the Netherlands than in France. You know why? Better records. Holland kept better records, so they knew where everyone was. That's terrifying. You know, the idea of you go digital ID, yeah, great, fabulous, give them all the information.
And
great,
pause it again. And remember that one of the first posts that we showed was with Joe Rogan. Was that on the morning show or the night show? Anyway, it's 12,000 people last year were arrested for online hate speech.
It was on this show.
It's coming down the pike. I think that thing about, it's about, and Thomas Sowell gets quoted a lot, rightly so, a brilliant man. There's no solutions, only trade-off. You know, safety and freedom. Well, where do you want to be on that line? You need a little bit of both. So, I mean, that's one thing for AI is, okay, the job, fine, you might be worried about your job, but you've got transferable skills. And if you've got critical thinking and you're a smart person, jobs for life is gone, but you'll find something else to do. You will find something else, great. You'll be all right. Trust in that. Trust in your independence. That, you know, if you don't work for that company, you'll work for a different company, you'll find something, you know, have some belief in yourself. And then the idea that you go running a authoritarian regime becomes very cheap. So we have to resist that. That civilization is a clearing in the forest. We need to stand very firm against any authoritarian
and if we vote for freedom and independence and we're successful in Alberta, it really collapses the entire narrative of security. They've been feeding this through the minority vote as well as the female vote. The female vote will always vote for security, while men as a group collective usually vote for independence and freedom. So if we can give the example of independence and freedom with a free Alberta and to deregulate a lot of stuff and to trust in the actual population, it will absolutely crumble the global narrative, and people in these other countries will start questioning what have they done.
Whether it comes from the left or the right, whether it comes from a good place or a bad place. We have to resist that. The other thing is physics. So this is Peter Thiel's point, but minus the screens from any room, we're living in the 1970s, right? So nothing's happened in physics since 72. String theory has not got us anywhere. But if you take the compute power of AI and point it at physics, now everything else in science is stamp collecting, right? Physics is the real thing. That gave us everything. Every bit of technology that we have comes from the physics department. And, you know, what happens when you point AI at that? That feels to me like something that people aren't really thinking about and is incredibly, could be incredible. We could have a world of plenty where there's no, you know, if we increase productivity by 50 times and there's a human flourishing, fantastic. I hope that's the world we live in, but it could go another way.
And that's what we're seeing in Canada, the other way. And that's why we need to find a way out.
Yes. The sooner the better. And again, it's not We were talking in the morning show about, oh, maybe we could wait 6 months. Oh, maybe we should wait a little bit longer. Oh, give Danielle till the end of the month. This is an existential question. And this is an existential question, not just for Albertans, but for Canada and the West in general, and the way that things can or can't be done within the societies we currently live in, and what kind of paradigm shift we can do between us and the governments that want to rule over us.
And let's remember, we're not going against a minority government anymore. We're going against a majority government. He's going to exponentially push things through, whether it's censorship or any number of other things. Alberta independence, again, has that first mover's advantage because they haven't built the mechanisms to the degree that they need them to stop us right now. You give them 6 months, those mechanisms will be built, or a large portion of them will be ready to go.
Now we'll go into your comments, and then we'll go into RUMBLE.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. Sean says, I remember as a kid going across a huge windmill farm between Tracy and Livermore, California, and asked my dad why weren't they moving?
Yeah, and that's funny because I used to live in California as well and drive out to Vegas quite often. And very often those windmill farms just aren't working. Nothing's moving. And there's hundreds, if not thousands of them. And then they had the big solar plant out there where they point all the mirrors at the big thing, and that thing broke down in the middle of the desert as well, and now they're just tearing it down.
Consequences don't matter for those. Sean says, yes, La Nina is cold weather in the Pacific. Okay, thank you. And El Nino, says Sean, is warm water in the Pacific, and it fluctuates, and it really is hit or miss in predicting weather. Been dealing with this all my life on the West Coast.
Yeah, it happens all the time. So they're trying to say it's going to be more dramatic, less dramatic. Who cares? The weather freaking changes. This deindustrialization through climate change is absolutely ridiculous. We need to start putting humanity first, especially, I mean, we are in the age of AI, and if we can get human flourishing to be the thing that we're focusing on, we can invent our way out of this thing.
Michael Drader says, astrophysicists speculate the planet Venus had ecosystems like Earth 3 billion years ago. As the sun expanded, that added more heat and transformed their hydrogen atmosphere into sulfuric acid. Michael Drader says, forget about global warming. We need to worry about solar cooling. Lol. Maybe we will end up in a sulfuric acid gas smoke, and we will all just, burn.
Way to be optimistic there, Nat.
That was Michael Drader. Michael Drader says, can we get 46 more likes? Thank you so much. And again, if we do get to 100 likes during the live stream, Michael Drader will get people memberships. But yes. Where were we? Todd says, it's not cost effective at all. Just ruins the scenery and does nothing but impoverish us. Klingon says, nice, Nat. Made me laugh. Thank you. I have no idea what I said, but said a bunch of very random things today. Todd says, windmills, useless scenery destroyers. Chocolate says, hello, if Troy was black, who knew? Nobody knew, apparently.
Well, the director knew.
Christopher Nolan. I like how Metatron, I think, this Italian historian on YouTube calls her Helen of Congo. I mean, if they had made that the story, then sure, it's a bit more believable. But again, the destruction of history and the destruction of history just to serve their own ideologies, but that does end up having gigantic repercussions that they can't even envision yet with the youth, but also with history moving forward. Todd says, Orwell's 1984 rides around in my car with me, lol, just for a reminder, as we should, and that's a good reminder to have. Todd says, but the Bible's always on the dash, New Testament. Orwell's on the floor. That was funny. Cindy Malik says, freedom all the way. Yes, freedom all the way. No. Glenn says, I wait for the knock on the door. Wait, can't find me until we are free of this BS that is coming forward.
Well, and that's another thing why we can't delay. If we delay or we choose to delay, that Danielle Smith says, well, I'm going to push it down the road because it's kind of muddied. There's 900 questions. We're going to make sure there's no other questions on the next ballot. The answer is no. You need to put it on this one. I don't give a shit. We have a critical mass of people. A lot of those people are going to lose hope and start leaving Alberta if we don't have this on this October 19th referendum. 200 and almost 50,000 people left Canada last year. Even more are going to leave this year under a Mark Carney government. A lot of people in Alberta are already planning to leave, and if this vote doesn't go our way, they're going to lose hope if they push it past this October 19th deadline.
Exactly. The momentum will be gone. Sean says, you have flooding and droughts during both El Nino and La Nina. It really is terrible at predicting weather. And yet they continue to try to do it to fearmonger. That was just a fearmongering piece.
Oh, obviously.
And again, the forest fires that they themselves allow to happen because they don't manage the forest, as they've been doing for centuries, and they spread glyphosate all over the place that dries everything up even further.
Yeah.
Michael Drader says, my physics experience came entirely from the Big Bang Theory. Me too, and I'm one of those crazy people that also think that it wasn't that bad of a show. Don't roast me, please. You never watched it, did you?
No.
Our whole universe was...
Oh, what is this? What show is it called again?
The Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I know the guy from Roseanne that was in there used to come into the bar, used to bounce that all the
Johnny
time.
Galecki?
I don't know his name. He's a nice
Johnny
guy.
Galecki.
He was a nice guy, though.
Good.
Yeah, really nice.
Glenn Gunn says, I wish my teacher was good at physics, was a good physics teacher. And Michael Drader said, no. Sean says, Alberta will allow hikes in the woods. They better. Yes, of course. Todd says, quit making chemtrails. Then I'll know you care about the weather. Exactly. Todd also says, it's about to storm. What should I do? Call the CBC or CTV. They must want to report on this freak storm.
Yeah.
Again, now, sadly, they probably would. Glenn Gunn says Alberta will never lose hope. To what you said.
Well,
hopefully.
You just have to realize people are already planning to leave Canada in general, and a lot of people are planning to leave Alberta if independence doesn't go the right way. You might not lose hope, but we are going to slowly start shedding critical mass of individuals. And the question is, how many people can we lose before we don't have enough people to vote for independence? That's why it's very important that we have a hardline stance with Danielle Smith on October 19th. That question needs to be on there, and she needs to make the decision very soon.
Because again, people's red lines have already been crossed. They've already wanted to leave and see that hope in Alberta independence. But if it doesn't go through, if Danielle doesn't put the question on the October 19th referendum, then because those lines have already been crossed, they'll be like, okay, well then, bye.
Well,
what's the point anymore?
And you also have to remember, Mark Carney just got a majority government. There's hundreds of thousands of national conservatives that are planning to leave for the United States and Mexico this year. They're not going to wait out 3 years, but a lot of them can be convinced to move to Alberta to vote for independence, but only if the question's on an October 19th ballot. If it takes longer than that, they're going to head down south to the US and Mexico.
And again, don't blame them because we did the same thing, but before.
And if Alberta independence doesn't go the way that they want on October 19th, then they'll use that as their backup plan. But we can't sell them Alberta right now if that question's not on that ballot.
Glenn Gunn says, great show. I'm guessing you mean Big Bang Theory. It got weird at the end, but overall, I did really like it. Todd says, guess I'll panic. About to rain and thunder, maybe lightning even. Lol, I'm scared. CBC, please come help. Come report on this freak storm that happens every day. Richard Hayes, exactly, says Chinese windmills and solar panels built by burning coal. Most things that China does is complete contradictions to what the West is, to what they make the West do. And
through lobbyists and things like this.
Exactly.
And legislation.
Sean says bye. Bye, Sean. Thank you for coming. Todd says, Mark, save me. It's about to thunder and lightning. We had a bunch of thunder and lightning today. And Todd says, oh my God, it's raining. What do I do? Am I going to be okay? CBC, CTV, come report quick. That's what they want.
Okay, let's move over to RUMBLE now.
No, hold on.
Well, I would tell the stories, but they are actually too hot for YouTube today. So we'll get massively censored if we talk. There's 4 stories. The last one's very interesting. So
thank you so much for joining. And again, the Nico Lagan interview. Oh, hold on. Let me put it up, actually, just to remind people. The Nico Lagan interview will premiere at 7 p.m. Mountain Time today. Very interesting. Where am I looking? Here. Very interesting conversation about Alberta and Quebec and how both movements can use each other, not mix with each other, but use each other to further independence and sovereignty for themselves as well. So watch it. This video will take you to that one afterwards. But if you want to join us on RUMBLE, then it is already up on our channel too. We will be on the chat answering questions and talking to you all as well. Glenn says, if you want freak storms, move to Medicine Hat, Alberta. Oh, they'd be panicking there. They already are panicking there about that. But okay, let's go over to RUMBLE and 30-second wait screen. And we didn't get to 100 likes, but eventually we will. Bye.
Let's